Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on chess.com and going to play a 5-0 game. Okay, I had to double check there. I had a couple seeks out, one for 5-0, one for 3-2. So no increment here. We have an Alekhine's defense. I'm not a big fan of going for the 4 pawns attack, so I'm not going to play f4. Let's take and see how they recapture first off. Okay. Knight f3, knight c6. They're probably going to fiend Qd2. Let's play knight f3, and I may invest a tempo with h3. Well, not now. So how do I do this? I'm thinking about bishop e3, and then knight to d2. Yeah, let's do this. If I play bishop e2, there's ideas of taking the knight and then taking on c4. So I need to take some care of this square. That said, let's go here. Also, rook c1, I like that it defends c4 directly. Let's break this pin. And I think I'm satisfied so far with this formation of minor pieces. Let's ask him a question more long-term. This is useful to have h2 for my king. It's quite natural to have the rook here. And now this is really the first moment where I'm thinking. I wonder about knight e4 to g3. On this move, might d5 be played? Maybe. Let me reinforce c4 just a tad. So that on knight e4 push, after the smoke clears, I'm not saddled with an isolated d-pawn. So on e4 knight here, okay, that's running right into this. They probably have to react to that. So my queen and bishop are there now. So I think I could take this opportunity to maybe push black around a little bit with d5. I don't think that knight has a good square. Or maybe a slower build-up. Let me go with a slower build-up. It's not quite clear to me what exactly this move nets me. Alright, I thought that might happen, but I'm not too afraid of it. Let's stay on these nice squares, c3 and f3, controlling all 4 center squares. Rook f to d1. Maybe queen to b2. Let's get this rook here. They can't feel so comfortable having the queen here. Queen e7 is quite natural. Okay, now they're pushing. Okay. Let's push. And now with this last sequence of moves, we have a majority on the queen side. So let me go queen here, preparing b4. Looking to expand this 3 versus 2 majority on the queen side. If ever e4, this is going to need some support. No doubt. I am also opposite their bishop, so I have to be a little bit careful. Let's make sure I can meet b6 with b4. They're preparing for the opening up of the a-file. I think I should still just voluntarily push here, so let's do it. Yeah, I have to fight back some on the clock here. So this knight can't feel so secure anymore. Not many exchanges, just a pawn off the board each. Actually, why am I not considering knight b5 to here? Let's go here first. Get out of this bishop's view. Keep some pressure on this square, and now let's jump in. Knight d6 will hit with tempo. Yeah, I like that I have pressure on this square with my queen. That doesn't feel like it should be good. Let's go here for starters. And can I not just start pushing black around some? I think I could do this. And I believe I'll be able to work around a knight on a5. Knight a5, queen up. they take here, I'll have connected pass pawns. I have to be a little bit careful of some sacrifice here, undermining my knight position. My queen is unprotected, so if I push here, my knight is a little bit stranded. He's pinned. Maybe I could look to reroute this bishop. Okay. There's a bunch of pins, so knight c6 is a possibility, but these bishops do really well to defend these two pawns. These bishops are nightmares. What is that move? Do not understand that. I think they thought I had to take with the rook or queen. Wow. Well, that's a sudden end. Huh. They missed something there, clearly. I don't know that that was a mouse slip. That's, I don't know, knight moves usually don't have mouse slips with knight moves of all pieces, but I don't know, something was missed there. I think I am the better side here because of these guys. Connected passers. We both have connected passers, but I have, well, my pawns are a bit further. I think I'm the one who did benefit from this structural change. As soon as d5 and c5 is in, let me just go to the analysis. Fast forward a little bit. Right around here, this d5 and c5, I think I'm the better side here, because I'm looking to play on the queen side. With this shift, I have a queenside majority, and black has a central majority. I have a 3 versus 2 on the queen side, black has a 2 versus 1 in the center. So I'm looking to go with b4, a4, b5 like I did in the game. Well, a3 in b4, but this is the idea. Black, on the other hand, should be shooting for this, but it's difficult because of the pressure that I have on d5 with both knight and, for when or if e5 hits, the rook. I'm slightly ahead time-wise, and I'm playing with this space advantage. Yeah, I must be better here. I have really good pieces, good control over the center. Hard to argue with the knight placement. Yeah, hard to argue with both knights, their positions. Maybe right around here black has to shoot for something different, but it's already a little bit iffy. Because with this pawn on c5, this d6 square, the one that I hopped to, it's a tricky piece to work around for sure. Knight on d6. What could black have done maybe a little bit different? I wonder. I think that this is quite alright. Actually, you know what, the other thing to look into, and we'll have a look at it with Stockfish, is to go about development with this bishop. g6, bishop here, striking at my center, and then maybe going for an e5 move. I'm pretty sure that this is another approach to address this pawn duo with an e5 strike. And taking it just a little bit further on d5, if this is how I'm to react, the knight can reposition to e7 and think about f5. And even something like f5, creating a pawn duo here on the king side. This is already threatening to pick up my bishop. It's an idea. I'm pretty sure I've seen this idea on the black side. I don't get to play against the Alekhine's defense too often, but I'm pretty sure if you're going with the fianchetto and striking at d4 with the knight, bishop, and then in the end an e5 pawn will make this pawn duo flinch. As it played out, I was able to maintain this pawn duo and, yeah, eventually grab some space. After they played d5, I got in c5. There was a little bit of a time waste here with bishop f6. It ran into knight e4 and then knight c3. So he's slightly improved. He was on D2. He got to E4 with tempo. He dropped into C3. This is, again, really good posts for the knights. Yeah, white is definitely the better side here. By how much, I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess the one other thing we could have a look at when I look at it with the computer is, was I correct to maybe not, let's see, right around here. Was I correct to not go in for D5 here? I wonder if the computer would be calling out for this right now. Something tells me it's maybe a little bit too early. Takes, maybe knight here with the double attack against this pawn. It's a bit tricky. I don't know. I think it'll be alright, but, you know, I think in the end, what I really didn't want was to have to babysit a pawn. He's now isolated and potentially vulnerable. Yeah, I don't know that white could really be bad here, but yeah, I think it was more of a structure thing. I wanted to stay clear of an isolated pawn situation. Okay, well, we're going to have a look at it with the computer, so just give me a second, I'll pull it up. Okay, Stockfish, let us see what we can learn from you. So, no issues with this organization of the minor pieces. Let me back up right here. It's fine with E6, but also we're seeing G6 pop up. And this is really the one I want to investigate just a little bit. Suppose I still go with this same setup, connecting the knights. Bishop G7. Bishop E2. Castles. Castles, get some natural stuff in. And, okay, here's even an improvement over what I was suggesting. E5 is the idea, but I inserted first knight C6. D5 could hit before E5 is in. So, before this idea of D5 can hit with tempo against a piece, black is already in a position to strike with E5. And should I play D5? Now this knight could think about A6 into the C5 square. So it's still the right idea as far as what pawn break to shoot for. The E5 strike. Bishop G7 and E5 is another approach here for black. Suppose on E5, H3, chop, chop, and then knight C6, D5, knight E7. And for a second it just popped up G4, but that's a pretty committal move. White's playing with the two bishops. I don't know how I feel about G4. Yeah, I'm leaning more towards the other suggestion, Bishop D3. And I guess this knight could still drop in there. Knight F5, and it's also even considering E4, the exchange of the E pawn for the C pawn. Yeah, I'm not sure how valuable the bishops are in this position. My X-factor bishop is the light square bishop, but he kind of struggles. You know, on this diagonal, the B1 to H7 diagonal, he's biting on a rock. What other diagonals are there, really? This D5 pawn gets in his way. Okay, it's another approach here, another way to organize the minor pieces for black to go with the fianchetto. So E6 isn't bad, but let's see how black could have still done better with this E6 bishop E7 deployment. Pretty natural stuff coming in. Just kind of doing a quick blunder check here. B3. Doesn't like B3. Queen B3. Oh, I don't know about that. It feels a little weird. I should probably explain why exactly it feels weird. Just something about having the queen on the third rank here with still so many pieces on the board. I don't know, like maybe knight a5, a valuable tempo at some stage. I don't know. I was more concerned about reinforcing c4. I think right around this moment in the game I was considering e4, but I thought d5, yeah. Oh, here's the other point. Can maybe consider taking and then playing d5. And what is this going to do? It's going to grant black access to the d5 square. With this fork against the knight and c4 pawn, I lose control of d5 with my pawn. It even points out d5 right away. Yeah, and we're seeing a shift, of course. You know, this is a big deal. Very tempting to maybe think, oh, let's throw my knight in the center. But yeah, d5 is a good way to break up this pawn duo. C takes d, knight takes d. Yeah. Sometimes black has this type of position, and they're still struggling to get their light square bishop working. He'll be back here. But he's an active piece. He's already outside of the pawn chain, we might say. There's no way black can be bad here. They have good control over the square directly in front of this isolated pawn, and they have no issue with their light square bishop in this case. Okay, so a short story here is that's why I did not want to go with e4, because of the d5 reply. And so that was my reason at this point to play b3, so that I can play knight e4 if I'm just making a passing move to illustrate. I think I could go knight e4 without d5 being so much of an issue. It still calls for d5, but the difference here is that I haven't given up control of d5. On takes, whoops, the bishop's hit. But let's just suppose the bishop wasn't hit. On takes, I'm able to recapture and maintain control over here. That's the idea behind b3. Keep control over d5. There, knight e4. What should black be doing right around here after b3? f5. Oh, okay. It's not. Initially I thought it was just top knight e4, but it's threatening f4, trapping my bishop. I'd have to take some action here. Yeah, that's a pretty serious move, f5. Peter calls for d4 and says it's about equal. Yeah, things are certainly sharpening up here. E takes, then knight to d4. Oh yeah, okay, it's getting really messy now. Threatens knight to e6 with the fork. Knight takes, bishop takes. Okay, yeah, it's getting pretty wild, but okay, f5 was an idea here for black. And also bishop g6. Okay, that's a more solid approach than this committal f5. Bishop g6 stops knight e4. And maybe then black can look forward to bishop f6. Okay. Bishop f6 it is. I got that tempo in. Knight g6. d5 is another idea. E takes, c takes. I was pointing out this. Knight b5. Exchange rooks. And then knight g6. I guess it's okay. You have to give up the bishop. And then queen to d2, challenging this knight. Okay. Another way to approach it. Again, I wasn't so much a fan of having that happen to my structure, playing with an isolated pawn. It's not bad, but it wasn't my cup of tea, let's just say. Oh, with queen d2, it doesn't like that. I guess d5 is good here, huh? Okay, so black should have struck at my knight with d5 right here. And I think I was going to go to c3. You could do this, but I feel like after bishop g6, my knight on g3 is out of play. So I'm pretty sure I would have leaned more towards knight c3. Although, knight g3 does actually force a bishop takes knight. as otherwise we end up with a similar structure. Well, the same structure in the game. I get the c5 advance in, and we have this now. The lines drawn in the game, the majority on the queen side versus black's central majority. So the way to stop that at knight g3 is to take the knight and then start to be disruptive to my pieces, apparently, with bishop a3. If I'm stepping up here, I guess knight b4. Okay. It's getting pretty direct. d5 was another move to consider here for black. The moment where it hits against a piece and c4. I want to mention one other thing. I don't think I was able to voice it during the game. But if I go with this natural deployment, the c4 square is a bit sensitive. You know, if, let's say, bishop e7, bishop e2, this d5 move, if I'm following up with c5, I believe that the knight could think about jumping here at some point. No. I just wanted to give some extra security to the c4 square to kind of offset this knight on b6. I kind of didn't want him... I didn't want the b6 knight's presence to be felt in the game. I was kind of making moves in a way that restricted this knight, or, you know, I didn't want him to enter play so easily. So that's why I opted for the queen knight's placement on d2 instead of c3. So getting to this point again, they had d5 right here. Instead it was bishop g6, knight c3. Yeah, it's a slight pull for white. And yeah, I guess after d5 now it's starting to become a bit more of an issue here for black. Play queen b2. I guess a3 is another idea. Also, I could have considered right away knight to b5 into d6. Only a few moves later did I even consider knight b5 here. But why did I not consider this at the very first moment? After c5 knight here, my eye should have been trained much sooner to the d6 square, and at least considered knight b5 to d6 right now. So that's just a small correction that I'm making here with my thinking. It should have that thought process should have ran through my mind right now. This is a hole in the black position. I have control over with the pawn. How can I get a piece there is the next question. Okay. Play queen b2 first. The queen side pawn's going. Queen e7. It likes queen b3. Okay, I'm happy about that. It says rook a1 and also queen to b3 as line 2. It was kind of a passing move too, just getting out of the bishop's way, pressure on d5. And now knight b5, b6. I jumped right in, and we just have that blunder here. I guess b5 is a problem. Oh boy, what did I miss? Oh, there's a tactical shot for black here. Undermining the knight immediately with knight takes d4. Whew. After knight here, I maintain the advantage after queen b4. And then what? They blundered. And that was it. So we both missed this tactical idea after b5. There's knight takes d4. Bishop takes, knight takes, and then b takes. Oh. Oh, that's really sharp. That's a lot to calculate. Allowing this fork, taking here. What does black have here after the smoke clears? Yeah, I have the exchange. They have 2 pawns for the exchange, so... And that's a pretty strong pawn center. It's still messy, but... Yikes. Okay, yeah, knight to d4. That's a tough one to calculate, I gotta say. After knight a5, I guess there isn't anything. Maybe speaking too quick here. It's not losing, but it's got to be a little bit uncomfortable here, to say the least, to work around the d6 knight. Queen f8. I guess bishop e7 is the idea. It's a bit tricky. I think the idea here is to really not allow this structure to even come about. I don't know. It feels kind of easier to play on the white side with these pawns a little further advanced when compared to, I don't know, black's central majority. Yeah. Queen f8, bishop f4, bishop e7. Yeah. It's calling for c6 here. Connected pass pawn. Yeah, this is really tough to play. You have to consider moves like rook to d8 all of a sudden. And on takes, you're getting the piece back. Tricky to play for black. Much easier to play here for white. So, yeah, the big thing here was the structure. This is the thing I'm taking away from it. This opportunity for black to have the d5 break-in right now. And also that tactical resource a little bit later on the d4 square. At this moment here, as soon as I play b5 and weaken my c5 square, there is, in fact, an opportunity to undermine this d6 knight. But they ended up blundering here. Not sure what they had in mind with that, but okay. Well, a sudden end to this one, but I believe there's still some good points to be taken away from it. And I hope you were able to take something away from it. As usual, feel free to leave any feedback in the comment section below, and I'll catch you in the next video. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.